Hello everybody, my name is Julia and I'm here today to do a reading for Scorpio. This is for your birthday season, Scorpio. It's going to be a shadow work reading, which I think is quite fitting for Scorpio and for the time of year really, for Halloween, for Samhain. It's definitely a time of introspection and reflection and so I would like to do a series of shadow work readings at some point, but I'm going to have a go just as a one-off for Scorpio and see how it feels and see how it goes. My background is in mental health and therapy, so it's something that's been a big interest to me for some time and something that I've actively worked on within myself over the years. So I would like to do a proper series at some point of shadow work readings with a lot of information about what shadow work is, looking at Carl Jung, looking at his theories of archetypes, and looking at various ways that you can use shadow work to benefit yourself. But today I'm going to have a go at a shadow work reading that I've put together myself, and we shall see where it goes. So I'm going to use an archetype card. These are from my Wisdom Well deck, which is something I've had for a long time and I've not used that often, so I shall probably read from the book for that. I'm also going to use a Rebel deck card because they bring a little bit of lightness to the reading and they're usually quite spot on and quite to the point about what needs a little bit of extra TLC in your life. And I'm also going to use my Game of Thrones tarot to do this reading because I think that they're very fitting for a shadow work reading as well. So this is a general reading. It may not resonate for everybody. If it doesn't, you're quite welcome to have a look at your moon, your reading for your moon sign or your rising sign. But as I said, if you've got Scorpio in your chart as your sun sign, or it features heavily within your chart somewhere, then this reading may well resonate for you. So without further ado, I'm going to give these little Wisdom Well cards a shuffle and we shall see what we get, Scorpio. I have a very, very dear friend who is a Scorpio, and I think that shadow work is very fitting for the Scorpio psyche, actually. So we shall see what we get. So for Scorpio, what would the universe, what would spirit like you to know at this time? And we have card number 23 here. Now, without looking at the book, I don't know who this archetype is. It could even be the shadow itself, couldn't it? There's a dark hooded figure there. Let's have a look. Could be the Hermit. If we have the Hermit here as an archetype. So card number 23. And it's the Hermit. So let's have a little read from the book, because I have the feeling this is quite important for Scorpio. So this card refers to the parts of the self that are introverted or secret, and to the things that you internalise. At the beginning of its development, the psyche is open to the world, but when it encounters an obstacle that it cannot overcome, it turns inward and falls silent and becomes an unexpressed part of the character. Fantasy or regression are attempts by the psyche to turn outward again. Closure of character is acceptance of the introverted state. The Hermit card can mean advice to keep the question being asked private. To draw this card is a bad omen when asking about fame or publicity. It reflects situations, people, and doors that are closed to you. The card may suggest internal experiences, the inner world, self-knowledge, hidden knowledge, and research. So this is a very good card, isn't it, for Scorpio? The Hermit card can also signify becoming withdrawn or isolated in a particular situation, as well as solitude, desertion, and loneliness. The card always indicates a lonely position. With this card, no one is on your side, but you have to fight the battle of life anyway. So some keywords with this card are introspection, secrets, reserve, withdrawal, isolation, putting up barriers and walls, agoraphobia, autism, ADHD, introvert, extrovert, feeling a stranger in one's own land, self-containment, and solitude. And the words on the front of the card here in the book are, I am an enigma, closed and protected. When my spirit meets the sun, I shine out warmly without giving up my depths. Do you know, I don't think I could have drawn a better card for Scorpio, could I? I am an enigma, closed and protected. I'm sure that not all Scorpios are the same, but in my experience of Scorpios, there are a lot of hidden depths. So yeah, that's a great card, isn't it, to begin with? So where's my Rebel deck? So I'm also going to give these little Rebel decks a shuffle, and we shall see what we get there. Let's make some room on my table. Let's have a look. Could I have some advice and some guidance here for Scorpio within this shadow reading for their birthday? Happy birthday, Scorpio. So, there we go. Over there. So, what have we got? You need a good fucking cry. Get the ugly cry on. Let that shit go. Your soul will thank you. There we go. Get that ugly cry on. Let that shit go. Your soul will thank you. So this, to me, would say that perhaps, as well as feeling quite introspective, needing some solitude, needing some alone time, that actually you have some emotions that perhaps you need to process and get rid of, get out. The shadow, I think Carl Jung described the shadow as like the big bag that you drag behind you throughout your life, and as you go it's full of all the things that you suppress and repress and that you stuff down and you deny and you ignore, and all of those things get put into this bag, and this bag gets heavier and heavier and heavier to drag around as you get older. And so really, to have some advice like you need a good cry is good advice, isn't it? Better out than in, I always think, with emotions. So, I'm going to ask 8 questions. I'm going to draw 8 tarot cards here, Scorpio, from my Game of Thrones deck. I may have to look at the little guidebook just because I like to know about the characters. We'll see what we get. Because in the past, when I've used these cards, I've realised that actually they can be quite different in their interpretation at times because of the characters portrayed in the cards. So we'll see what we get here. So for Scorpio, would Spirit, what would the universe like you to know at this time? And I'm just going to draw 8 cards. I'm going to lay them on the table, and then I will show you, and we will work our way through them. So, six, 7, 8. Okay. So, let's put these all out nicely so I can see them. I'm sorry, my table is quite cluttered today. You can't see what I'm doing here, but I've got a lot of bits and pieces on my table. I haven't been very organised, and I'm sort of shuffling lots of things around here. So, right. So, for card number 1, this is, what does my inner child want me to know? And we have the 8 of Wands, or the 8 of Spears here. What does my inner child want me to know? Card number 2 is, what am I hiding from myself, or what can't I see? And this is the High Priestess. Card number 3, what am I projecting onto others? And we have the 8 of Coins, or the 8 of Pentacles there. Card number 4 is, what triggers me and why? And we have the Moon. Card number 5 is, what difficult truth must I face in order to grow? What difficult truth must I face in order to grow? And we have the Star. Card number 6 is, what is blocking me? And we have the Wheel of Fortune. Card number 7 is, what strengths can assist me? And we have the Hanged Man. And card number 8 is, how can I move forward? And what steps should I take? And we have the Fool. So, let's have a look here. And bear in mind, we had the Hermit card for your archetype card, and we had the You Need a Good Cry as well. So, I'm just looking at these cards, trying to take them in as a whole here, and I'm just seeing that out of the 8 cards, we have 6 major arcana and 2 minor arcana. Now, as I'm sure you're aware with tarot cards, the major arcana are often big karmic cards, big energetic cards, big sort of long-term cycle type cards. They don't always mean something specific to now. They're general themes and energies that are kind of floating around within your psyche at this time. Whereas the minor arcana often represent our day-to-day struggles and give advice based on our day-to-day struggles. So we've got a lot of karmic energy here. A lot of karmic energy. There's a lot of suffering here, actually, just in my first impressions of these cards. There's a lot of internal suffering here, is my feeling with these cards, Scorpio. So with, what does my inner child want me to know? And we have the 8 of Wands, which, I mean, the 8 of Wands traditionally means movement, communication, things speeding up, travel, plans, expansion, lots going on. I'm trying to tune into these cards and feel what that might mean for your inner child. Do you know what? My intuition here, my gut feeling here is telling me that your inner child is bored. This is kind of a go card. This is action. And to me, I can see an active and busy inner child who wants to be heard, who wants to communicate, who wants to be seen. Yeah, that's my feeling. I think your inner child wants a dialogue with you. I think your inner child wants to be heard. I think your inner child wants to be seen. And like I said, there's this kind of there's like a feeling of boredom, of restlessness, of not having its needs met. Yeah. And it's just made me think about what some of the words that were in with the archetype, with the hermit archetype here, that there was ADHD, wasn't there, within that reading, within the explanation there of the hermit. Let me have a look at that again. That is definitely resonating, that there's a feeling of boredom here within your inner child. Yeah. So the hermit is about self-containment and withdrawal and isolation, putting up barriers and walls. It's a kind of unexpressed part of the character. And it said the card always indicates a lonely position. And that's what I'm feeling here, actually, is I think your inner child is lonely. I think your inner child lacks stimulation. I think your inner child would like a dialogue with you. I think it would like to be seen and heard and recognised and honoured and loved, actually, because that's the most important energy of all when we're dealing with our inner child, because our inner childs are often the neglected, kind of sad little parts of ourselves, really. You know, if we're talking about suppressing and repressing things within our shadow, whatever ends up in our shadow to do with our inner child is going to be sad and lonely and unheard and unseen, lacking the nurture and lacking the things that a child needs. And I think your inner child needs stimulation, needs to be seen. So perhaps for you, Scorpio, and there's many of these on YouTube, perhaps some inner child meditations would be good for you, or to seek some therapy or some help or some support, or just to actually do something that from your childhood made you feel good, something that did make you feel seen and heard from your childhood. I think that's the best advice I can give you for that card there, Scorpio. So for your second card, what am I hiding from myself, or what can't I see? And we have the High Priestess. And this is Melisandre. I think I've pronounced that correctly. Melisandre from Game of Thrones. And she's not really what I would consider a traditional High Priestess, in that she very definitely has light and shadow within her character. She did some terrible things within Game of Thrones, some terrible things, but she also redeemed herself. She was full of wisdom and insight and magic, but at a great cost at times to the people around her. I don't know, in large part really, she represents, I guess, duality, doesn't she? She represents the duality of your nature. Maybe that's something to do with what you're hiding from yourself here, is this duality within yourself. Perhaps a duality of your anima, your animus, which are archetypes of Carl Jung's, your divine feminine, your divine masculine, your ability to be intuitive and spiritual, but also your ability to live within this physical world and to thrive and function within this physical world. So I would say, if the message of this card is duality, is to recognise and to honour the duality within yourself. Card number 3 is what am I projecting onto others? And this is one of the 2 minor arcana that we have here, and this is the 8 of Pentacles. What am I projecting onto others? That everyone works harder than you, that everyone's more successful than you. We are talking shadow work here, so this is obviously, I'm not going to be discussing all of your more positive attributes, Scorpio. I am going to be looking at some of the things that you struggle with in life, and perhaps you project onto others your own feelings of insecurity, inadequacy, a feeling of failure. Perhaps you project onto others all the success that you don't see in yourself, all of the qualities to work hard and achieve things that you don't see in yourself. I think that's the only way I can read this card, really, because the 8 of Coins is about working very hard to accomplish something. It's kind of mastery of things, mastery of situations, mastery of your finances, your home, your job. Perhaps you're feeling that these are things that you haven't succeeded with, things that you haven't achieved yourself, and you project this success or this sense of fulfillment and achievement onto others, and don't see it within yourself, don't value those things within yourself, the things that you have achieved in your life, your own strengths and stamina for hard work. I think that's what I'm feeling there. Card number 4. What triggers me and why? And this is the Moon. That's the Moon door, isn't it? That was in, I forget her names. I forget the name of the lady who used to throw people through the moon, through the moon door. It was a place of execution, wasn't it? So what triggers me and why? So the moon traditionally is a card of illusions, of deceptions, and I guess this card is a little bit of an illusion. You wouldn't know at first glance what that was or where that led to, even though we can see the moon through there. It's kind of a card of illusion, of deception. It's often a card of unstable emotions, often of things to do with the past, things from our childhood. So I would say here, what triggers me and why is perhaps the feeling of being deceived, of knowing that things are not quite what they seem, certain issues from your childhood, things that trigger you around not being believed, not being seen for who you are, not being heard, not having your own emotional state recognised. I think this card really, again, is urging some inner child work. I think very much this card is making me feel this is inner child work. I think the things that trigger you come from your childhood, and they are very much to do with things not being as they seem, feelings of being tricked, feelings of people not seeing you, people not seeing what you need. Feeling unstable, feeling out of control. They're all very common things that we've all faced at various times throughout our lives, but I think if there's a lot of that not being seen and not being heard going on in your childhood, it can make you very, very sensitive to how people perceive you as a grown-up, how you're seen in the world, what your place is in the world. It's like if your intuition, because we have the High Priestess here, don't we? It's like if your intuition is telling you one thing and somebody else is telling you another thing. It's like it blows your mind, I feel here, actually. That's definitely another card of inner child work. So card number 5, what difficult truth must I face in order to grow? Excuse me, I'm just going to put my little heater on. There, you can see the glow of that. It's getting chilly here in the UK. It's chilly here in Norfolk. So again, card number 5, what difficult truth must I face in order to grow? And this is the Star. And if I'm not wrong, I think this is poor Sansa, isn't it? I think this is poor Sansa when she was locked up at Winterfell by Ramsay Bolton, the sadist and psychopath that she was forced to marry or tricked into marrying. This is poor Sansa hoping to be saved, I think. I'm trying to remember back. I think she went up to the tower and this was where she was shining a candle for Brienne to come and rescue her. So what difficult truth must I face in order to grow? I suppose essentially the Star is a card of hope, isn't it? It's a card of hope and faith. Maybe that's just the message here, really. is to keep your hope burning, to keep your faith burning, to not let that light go out within you. I do also feel here as well, though, actually, that there's a little bit of maybe false hope here of being rescued, because this, again, a card of hope and faith, but she's also hoping to be rescued here, Sansa. She's desperate to be rescued here. And if we grow up feeling that somebody's going to rescue us and come along and make our life a lot better, we're kind of often setting ourselves up for disappointment and failure, aren't we? I think ultimately we can only save ourselves, and that perhaps the hope and the faith that this card would have us think of is something to keep within ourselves and something to hold dearly within ourselves. Yeah, I think that's all I can say about that. So card number 6 is what is blocking me, and we've got the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune often, traditionally speaks of karma. The Wheel of Fortune spins. It's generally a lucky card. If the wheel is on the way up, there's good luck coming towards you. If the wheel is on its way down, well, perhaps, that's where your life is headed. What is blocking me? This is a tricky card. Do you know what it's making me feel is that you can be too passive to life. You can while it's important to have hope and to have faith and to go with the flow, it's also actually important to take some ownership and to not be too passive about life, to take action, because ultimately this is a card of movement. The Wheel of Fortune is rarely still, and sometimes in order to get that movement in our lives, in order to have the wheel spin again, we need to take action. We need to actually do something, and I think that's what I'm feeling here, is that if anything is blocking you, it would be a passive lack of action, a passive waiting. And I'm feeling that really because we have such a lot of divine feminine energy here. We have the High Priestess, we have the Moon, which is a very feminine card, we have the Star here with poor Sansa. This is all quite feminine energy that's obviously receptive. So yeah, if the question for this card is what is blocking me, I would say what's blocking you is a lack of movement, a lack of drive within yourself for change. Maybe too much of putting your life in the hands of the gods, if you know what I mean, in the hands of the Wheel of Karma, the Wheel of Fortune. I often talk about going with the flow in readings, and obviously it's very important to not overly control our lives, to not try and dictate and control every aspect of our lives, but I think as there's such a lot of feminine energy here, I think maybe this card is calling for some more divine masculine energy of action, of doing. I think your inner child certainly would like some doing, would like some movement. There's definitely a feel of a need for movement here. There's a lot of sitting within a certain energy here, which is not a bad thing, but it does feel to me that things are being held too tightly. Things are being held in place. There's a big sense of waiting here. Waiting for what comes your way rather than actually stepping out to find out for yourself what there is out there. So card number 7, what strengths can assist me? And we've got the Hanged Man. This is poor old Theon, isn't it? Being tortured by the disgusting and vile Ramsay Bolton again. And obviously the Hanged Man traditionally is a card of sacrifice. It's a card of waiting, yet again, it's a pause. It's a sacrifice, isn't it? Waiting for enlightenment. This is the card of Odin hanging from the tree of life. In order to gain illumination, in order to gain wisdom. I often feel with this card as well, it's like there's a decision that needs to be made. It's like you've got choices and a decision needs to be made, and you're kind of almost stuck in limbo a little bit there. You're kind of stuck, paused, waiting to see what happens. So again, it's this feel of waiting. We've got the Hermit, who's very inward and introspecting, looking inward with his solitude. We've got the High Priestess, who also is a person of solitude. We have the Moon, we have the Star. These are all very quiet and peaceful cards, as is the Hanged Man. There's a feeling with the Hanged Man of being out of control in some ways, of just waiting for this rebirth, of waiting for something to end and something new to begin. Yeah. And the last card is, how can I move forward and what steps should I take? And we've got the Fool, which is the lovely Tyrion. Now the Fool traditionally is, he's about to step off the cliff. And it is kind of a card of going with your instincts, going with the flow a little bit. But I think that Tyrion in this card, the Fool, is a little bit different because he's no fool. Tyrion here is clever. He's sharp, he's wise to the ways of people and life. And he's on this new adventure, he's on this new journey because he made a decision to, he did something. I have the feeling that this might be when he's killed his dad, his abusive father. I may be wrong, I'm not sure entirely, but I'm feeling this might be when he left. He'd killed his father and he'd left. Let me look it up because I want to know. Let's have a look. What does it say? Yeah, let's have a look. It just says the Fool is represented by Tyrion Lannister, who risks his life to follow a dream. Enchanted by dragon stories as a child, he courts death to visit Viserion and Rhaegal. I've said those wrong, I'm sorry, that's terrible. The dragons. He saves his city from Stannis and travels to the Wall. This Fool is no fool, And in the literal sense, as Tyrion says, I drink and I know things, and Tyrion can say what others dare not. So yeah. So Tyrion has actually not stepped out into the unknown innocently. Tyrion has stepped out into the unknown with a plan. He's following his destiny, I guess. He's made some decisions in his life. He's ended some cycles and he's starting again, and he's doing it bravely and not entirely fearlessly, but bravely. What a wonderful card to end on of how can I move forward and what steps can I take. So it'd be to follow Tyrion's energy. So yeah, let's just have a little sum up, because I'm aware that we've got to 40 minutes in this reading and I'm starting to feel quite tired. So yeah, there's, as shadow work here, I'm feeling very much that this is inner child work. I'm feeling very much that your inner child is feeling ignored and unseen and unheard, and I think that your inner child would like to come out to play, would like to communicate, would like you to take some action. There's an awful lot of very receptive and quite passive energy here, that you're hiding yourself away, that you're spending an awful lot of time introspecting, reflecting. You've got your little light here, and it's like you're almost hoping to be saved, whether from yourself or from the world, I don't know, but I think if there was to be a lesson here, if you like, out of this shadow work, it's that if you continue to just be receptive and to wait and to spend the majority of your time looking inward, comparing yourself, judging yourself, listening to some of the negativity and some of your inner monologue, I think you're going to be waiting a long time for the help that you need at this time. I think that what you need is within. I think that you need to make some decisions, actually. I think that you've spent enough time, actually, in many ways, being a hermit, stuffing things down, kind of repressing certain things. I think it's time to step into your own power, to get more in touch with your masculine side. And I mean that whether I'm talking to a man or woman here, because we all have a very feminine side and we all have a very masculine side. And what I'm seeing in your cards is a very feminine perspective here, that I think it would do you good to step into some more masculine energy. And I think, as I said, that if I could offer one little bit of advice to you really at the end of this reading, it would be to start a dialogue with your inner child, however that's possible for you, whether that's through meditation, guided meditations, therapy, getting in touch with your inner child through activity, through sport, through play, through your relationships, through your hobbies, through the things that you enjoy. But I think your bored inner child needs to come out to play. But what a beautiful card to end your reading on. Because as I said, Tyrion may well be the fool here, but he's no fool. He's quite capable of making decisions. He's quite capable of manifesting his own destiny, if you like. He's quite capable of taking charge, of dealing with bullies. And he's very much in touch with his own inner child. So there we go. Perhaps instead of the Hermit, perhaps something to take away for you here is the Fool. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, Scorpio. Like I said, that's my first attempt at a shadow work reading, and I would like in the future to offer a little bit more background information about shadow work and also some therapeutic interventions, I guess, to help you along the way with shadow work. But I thought I'd just have a go for you, Scorpio, as it's a very relevant time of the year for shadow work, for introspection. But yeah, I'd like you to take away that energy with you there of Tyrion. So thank you for being here with me, Scorpio, and as I said, happy birthday. I appreciate that shadow work can be triggering for people. That is the nature of it. It's difficult and it's uncomfortable. I'm here. My email address is in the description. I'm quite happy to chat to you about these things. And I would very much welcome any comments, any feedback, any likes, and please do subscribe to my channel because I'm quite new and it would be great to get some new subscribers. So once again, thank you very much and see you next time.